Danny Cole was going to die alone in space, and he knew it. The maintenance vessel Starward Drifter had been drifting through the nebula for 3 days now. 3 days of silence. 3 days of recycled air that tasted more stale with each breath. 3 days of checking the oxygen meter and watching the numbers slowly drop. He was 22 years old. He had joined the salvage crew 8 months ago because the pay was decent, and he needed to send money back home to his mother and younger sister on Earth Colony 7. He had never expected to die out here in the purple clouds of a nebula that most star maps did not even bother to name. The reactor malfunction had happened without warning. One moment everything was normal, the crew going about their daily tasks. The next moment, alarms were screaming and the forward compartments were venting into the void. Captain, engineer, navigation officer, and the 3 other crew members had all been in those forward sections. Danny had survived only because he had been in the aft storage bay, counting spare parts and cursing his luck at getting stuck with inventory duty. Now he was the only one left. Danny floated in the zero gravity of the disabled ship, pushing himself from wall to wall as he checked systems that refused to respond. The main engines were dead. Communications were dead. Life support was running on emergency reserves that would last maybe another 2 days if he was lucky. The distress beacon had taken him 18 hours to repair. It was broadcasting now, sending out a weak signal that might reach the nearest human outpost if conditions were perfect. But conditions in the nebula were never perfect. The charged particles that gave the nebula its beautiful purple glow also played havoc with radio signals. Danny had done the math. The chances of anyone receiving his distress call were less than 10%. The chances of anyone reaching him in time were even lower. He was going to die out here, and there was nothing he could do about it. On the 4th day, something changed. Danny was in the small sleeping compartment, conserving oxygen by staying still and breathing slowly, when he felt the ship shudder. At first he thought something else had broken, that the vessel was finally giving up its last hold on functionality. But then he heard it through the hull, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through his bones. He pushed himself toward the nearest viewport and looked out. What he saw made his heart stop. A ship was approaching the Starward Drifter, but it was not like any ship Danny had ever seen or even imagined. It was enormous, easily a kilometer long, and it was alive. The hull was made of overlapping scales that shimmered purple and gold in the nebula's light. The overall shape was serpentine, like a great snake coiled around itself. Along its length, Danny could see what looked like fins or perhaps wings, folded tight against the body. The ship moved with organic grace, no visible thrusters or engine ports. It simply glided through space as if swimming through water. Danny watched in stunned silence as the alien vessel positioned itself alongside his crippled ship. A section of the hull near what might have been the head began to shift and change, scales sliding apart to reveal an opening. From this opening, a long tube extended toward the Starward Drifter, flexible and segmented like the arm of some deep-sea creature. The tube connected to his airlock with a soft thump that echoed through the ship. Danny grabbed the emergency pistol from the wall mount. It was a small weapon, meant for dealing with hull breaches or aggressive wildlife on salvage operations. Against whatever was coming through that airlock, it would probably be useless, but holding it made him feel slightly less helpless. He positioned himself facing the airlock door and waited. The airlock cycled. Danny heard the hiss of pressure equalizing, then the inner door began to open. She had to crouch to fit through the human-sized doorway, and even then her horns scraped against the top of the frame. When she finally straightened to her full height, Danny found himself looking up at nearly 4 meters of the most terrifying and beautiful creature he had ever seen. Her body was covered in scales that shifted color as she moved, ranging from deep violet to burnished copper to hints of gold. The scales were small and fine on her face, larger and more pronounced on her arms and the visible parts of her torso. Her face was almost human in structure, with high cheekbones, a strong jaw, and full lips, but her eyes were vertical slits of molten gold that seemed to glow with their own inner light. 2 curved horns swept back from her forehead, polished and dark as obsidian. A long tail swayed behind her, thick at the base and tapering to a point. And she had wings. Massive wings folded tight against her back, the membrane between the finger-like bones a deep crimson. She wore very little. A few strips of metallic fabric crossed her chest and hips, more decorative than functional. Her scales apparently provided all the coverage she needed. Danny realized he was still pointing the pistol at her. His hands were shaking. The alien woman looked at the weapon, then at Danny. She did not seem concerned. "Human," she said. Her voice was deep, almost a purr, and it seemed to vibrate through Danny's chest in a way that made his heart beat faster. "You are very far from your territories." Danny tried to speak. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He cleared his throat and tried again. "My ship," he managed. "There was an accident. I'm the only survivor." The alien woman moved closer. Danny backed against the wall, but there was nowhere to go. She was so large, so overwhelming. Her presence filled the entire compartment, made the air feel thick and heavy. She leaned down, bringing her face close to his. Her nostrils flared as she inhaled deeply, and Danny realized she was smelling him. "You smell of fear," she observed, "and youth and something else. Loneliness, perhaps. How long have you been alone on this dying vessel?" 4 days, Danny said. "Almost 4 days." "And how old are you, little human? You seem very young." 22 standard years." "A child," she murmured. "Among my people, you would not yet be permitted to leave your mother's nest. You would still be learning, still being protected." "I'm not a child," Danny protested, then immediately felt foolish. Here he was, backed against a wall by an alien giantess, and his pride was what he was worried about. She smiled. Her teeth were definitely sharper than human normal. Not fangs exactly, but pointed in a way that suggested a carnivorous diet. "No," she agreed. "Perhaps not a child, but certainly inexperienced. You hold that weapon as if you have never fired it." Danny looked down at the pistol, then back up at her. "Would it even hurt you?" "Probably not, but the fact that you ask rather than simply finding out tells me much about your character." She straightened slightly, giving him a bit more space. "I am of the Sisterhood. You may call me Vex, and you are." Danny Cole." "Danny Cole," she repeated, rolling the name around in her mouth as if tasting it. "A simple name for a simple human. I like it." Danny was not sure if that was a compliment or an insult. He decided not to ask. "What are you going to do with me?" he asked instead. Vex tilted her head, studying him with those unsettling golden eyes. "I am going to save your life, Danny Cole. Your vessel is dead, your air is running out, and no one is coming for you. I, on the other hand, have a perfectly functional ship with plenty of room and supplies. You will come with me. And if I refuse, then you will die alone in the dark, and I will have wasted my time investigating your distress signal." She shrugged, a surprisingly human gesture. "The choice is yours. I will not force you, but I admit I would prefer your company. Space is lonely, and I find myself in need of conversation." Danny looked at the pistol in his hand, then at the alien woman who could probably kill him with a single swipe of her clawed fingers. He looked at the oxygen meter on the wall, the numbers still slowly dropping. He thought about his mother and sister, who would never know what happened to him. He lowered the pistol. "Okay," he said, "I'll come with you." Vex smiled again, and this time it seemed almost warm. "A wise decision, Danny Cole. Come. My ship is much more comfortable than this metal coffin." She turned and moved back toward the airlock, ducking through the doorway. Danny hesitated for a moment, then pushed himself after her. The connecting tube was warm and slightly damp, the walls pulsing with a faint bioluminescence. It felt less like walking through a machine and more like walking through the throat of some enormous creature. At the end of the tube, Danny emerged into a space that took his breath away. The interior of the alien ship was vast and organic. The walls curved smoothly, covered in the same scales as the exterior but smaller, more delicate. Bioluminescent patches provided soft, warm light that seemed to shift and flow like water. The air smelled of something floral, like flowers Danny had never encountered. And the ship was warm. After days in the cold, failing life support of the starward drifter, the warmth wrapped around Danny like a blanket. "Welcome to the eternal flame," Vex said. "My home for the past 30 years." 30 years? Danny asked. "You've been alone on this ship for 30 years." "Not always alone, but often. The sisterhood is scattered now, each of us following our own path. I chose to explore, to seek out new civilizations and possibilities." She gestured for him to follow her down a winding corridor. "Your species is relatively new to the galactic community. I have been observing humanity for some time." "Observing, you mean spying?" Vex laughed. It was a deep, rich sound that seemed to echo off the walls. "Spying suggests hostility. I prefer to think of it as curiosity. Humans are fascinating, Danny Cole. You spread so quickly, adapt so readily. In less than 2 centuries, you have gone from a single planet to dozens of colonies across multiple star systems. It is impressive." They entered a larger chamber that seemed to serve as both living quarters and command center. Curved platforms covered in soft material provided seating, and screens of a type Danny did not recognize displayed information in flowing script. Through a large viewport, he could see the purple clouds of the nebula stretching into infinity. Vex settled onto one of the platforms, which groaned slightly under her weight. She gestured for Danny to sit as well. He chose a platform some distance from her, still not entirely comfortable with her proximity. "You have questions," Vex said. It was not a question. "About 1 million of them." "Then ask, we have time." Danny thought for a moment, trying to decide where to start. "Your species," he said finally. "The sisterhood. What are you exactly? I've never heard of you, and I thought we had at least basic information on all the major spacefaring races." Something flickered across Vex's face. Pain, perhaps, or old grief. "Once we were many," she said. "The numbered in the billions. We had worlds of our own, fleets of ships, a civilization that spanned half a galaxy. We were powerful, we were proud, and we were naive." "What happened?" "War, is that not always the answer? 5 centuries ago, we came into conflict with another species, the Dominion. They were conquerors, expansionists. We stood in their way. The war lasted nearly 100 years. Vex paused, her tail curling around her legs. "When they realized they could not defeat us in direct combat, they turned to other methods. Their scientists engineered a plague, a genetic weapon designed specifically to target our males. Within a generation, every male of our species was dead." Danny felt cold despite the warmth of the ship. "All of them." "All of them, the plague was devastatingly effective. By the time we understood what was happening, it was too late. Our males died in agony, their genetic code unraveling from within." Vex's voice was flat, controlled, but Danny could hear the ancient pain beneath the words. "We destroyed them in retaliation, hunted them to the last individual, but it did not bring our males back. Nothing could." "I'm sorry," Danny said, and meant it. "Do not be sorry, be aware. This is the universe you live in, Danny Cole. Species rise and fall, civilizations burn, the strong survive, and the weak perish." She fixed him with those golden eyes. "But sometimes those who should have perished find a way to endure. That is what the sisterhood has done." "How, without males, how can you reproduce?" "We have tried many methods over the centuries. Genetic engineering to create new males has failed. The plague seems to have altered our base genetic code in ways that reject male chromosomes. Cloning produces only daughters, and they are often weak, prone to illness and shortened. Artificial wombs can grow embryos but cannot provide the genetic diversity we need." Vex leaned forward, her expression intense. "We need new genetic material, Danny Cole. Fresh DNA to combine with our own. For centuries, we have sought compatible species, but none have proven viable. The hybrids either do not develop or die shortly after birth." Danny began to understand where this was going, and he felt his face grow hot. "And humans?" he asked carefully. "Humans are unique. Your genetic code is remarkably adaptable, more so than any other species we have encountered. Your DNA seems almost designed to combine with others, to incorporate foreign genetic material and produce viable offspring." Vex smiled slightly. "It is one of the reasons you spread so quickly. You can adapt to almost any environment, survive almost any condition. This adaptability extends to reproduction as well. You want human men to have children with your people. I want my species to survive, Vex said simply. For 500 years, we have watched our numbers dwindle, each generation smaller than the last. Each year, more of us choosing the long sleep rather than enduring another century of hopelessness. We are dying, Danny Cole. Slowly, painfully, inevitably dying. She stood, her full height once again dominating the chamber. But now there is hope. Your species may be the key to our salvation. Human DNA combined with genetics could produce hybrids that carry the best of both peoples. Children who could live full lives, have children of their own, continue our legacy. Danny sat in silence, trying to process everything he had heard. An ancient species devastated by war and plague, a desperate search for survival, and humanity unknowingly holding the key. That's not my decision to make, he said finally. I'm just a junior technician. I count spare parts and fix broken equipment. I can't speak for all of humanity. I know I did not expect you to. Vex settled back onto her platform. But I wanted to tell you, to explain why I have been observing your species, and to ask for your help. My help, what can I do? You can be a bridge, a connection between our peoples. When I return you to human space, I will request a meeting with your government. But such meetings are often cold, formal, filled with suspicion and political maneuvering. It would help to have someone who understands both sides. Someone who can speak to the genuine desperation of my people, not just the political implications. Danny thought about this. He thought about his life before the accident, the endless salvage runs on decrepit ships, the constant struggle to make ends meet. He thought about his mother working 3 jobs to keep food on the table, his sister dreaming of a future that seemed forever out of reach. And he thought about what Vex was offering, a chance to be part of something bigger, a chance to matter. I'll help, he said. I don't know how much good I can do, but I'll try. Vex nodded, something like relief flickering across her features. Thank you, Danny Cole. I believe this is the beginning of a significant partnership. Danny spent the next several days aboard the Eternal Flame, learning about the ship and its sole inhabitant. Despite her intimidating appearance, Vex proved to be surprisingly easy to talk to. She was curious about everything human, from music to food to social customs. And she had a dry, sardonic sense of humor that caught Danny off guard more than once. Your species has a strange fascination with physical appearance, Vex observed one evening as they shared a meal of synthesized proteins. The food was unfamiliar but tasty, and Danny found himself eating more than he had in weeks. You spend so much time and resources altering your bodies, decorating your skin, changing the color of your hair. Why? Danny shrugged. I guess we like to look good, to stand out or fit in depending on what we're going for. But you are all so small and fragile. What does it matter if you are slightly less small or slightly less fragile? Hey, we're not that small. Vex smiled, showing her pointed teeth. Danny Cole, you barely reach my chest. I could lift you with one hand. You are objectively very small. Yeah, well, you're objectively very tall. That doesn't mean I'm small. It means you're freakishly large. Vex laughed, that deep rolling sound that Danny was starting to enjoy hearing. Freakishly large, I like that. Among my people, I am considered average in height, perhaps slightly on the shorter side. Seriously, there are bigger ones. My mother was nearly 5 meters tall. My grandmother was larger still. They have always been a people of significant stature. Danny tried to imagine a even larger than Vex, and felt a shiver run down his spine. That's terrifying. Is it? I always found my mother's size comforting. She could wrap her wings around me and block out the entire world. Nothing could reach me when she was near. There was something in Vex's voice, a note of sadness that Danny recognized. Is she still alive, your mother? No, she chose the long sleep nearly 2 centuries ago. The grief of losing my father and brothers in the plague never fully healed. Eventually, she decided she did not wish to endure any longer. I'm sorry. You say that often. I am beginning to believe you mean it. I do mean it. Losing family is hard, I know what that's like. Vex tilted her head, studying him. You have lost family members. My father, he died when I was 12, mining accident on Colony 7. The company said it was unavoidable, but everyone knew they had been cutting corners on safety equipment. Danny stared at the table, old pain stirring in his chest. My mother had to take on extra jobs to support us. My sister and I grew up fast after that. And yet you became a technician on salvage vessels. Dangerous work, from what I understand. The pay was good, better than anything else I could get with my education. I needed to send money home. Vex was quiet for a moment. You care deeply about your family. You risk your life to provide for them. Of course I do. They're all I have. That is admirable, Danny Cole. Many beings speak of family loyalty, but few demonstrate it through sacrifice. She leaned forward. If the alliance between our peoples succeeds, you would be well compensated. Your family would never need to struggle again. Danny shook his head. That's not why I agreed to help. Then why? He thought about the question carefully before answering. Because it's the right thing to do. Your people are dying and humanity might be able to help. If I can do something to make that happen, I should. It's that simple. Vex stared at him for a long moment, her golden eyes unreadable. You are a strange human, Danny Cole. I have observed many of your species, but I have not encountered one quite like you. Is that good or bad? Good, I think, very good. On the 5th day aboard the Eternal Flame, Vex brought up a topic that made Danny's face burn with embarrassment. They were in the observation chamber, watching the stars drift past the viewport. The nebula was behind them now, the ship moving steadily toward the nearest human outpost. Tell me, Danny Cole, Vex said, her tone casual. Have you ever mated? Danny choked on the drink he had been sipping. What? Mated, engaged in sexual intercourse, had a physical relationship with another person. I am asking if you have experience in this area. That's a really personal question. Vex looked genuinely puzzled. Is it? Among my people, such things are discussed openly. There is no shame in physical needs or desires. Everyone requires intimacy, whether for reproduction or simply for pleasure. Humans are a bit more private about that stuff. I have noticed. It seems like a source of much unnecessary stress. You spend so much energy concealing natural urges that you create all manner of psychological problems for yourselves. Danny did not have a response to that, so he stayed silent. I myself have not had intercourse in 16 months, Vex continued, as if discussing the weather. It is becoming quite frustrating. The sisterhood's options for physical companionship are limited, given our lack of males. Some of us seek partners among other species, but compatible ones are rare. 16 months, Danny repeated, not sure what else to say. Yes, before that I had a brief relationship with a member of the species. They are compatible with physiology, though reproduction is impossible. It was pleasant, but ultimately unfulfilling. There is something missing when the possibility of children is removed entirely. Danny's face felt like it was on fire. I really don't know what to say to any of this. Vex laughed. You are adorable when flustered. I apologize. I did not mean to embarrass you. I sometimes forget that other species have different attitudes toward these subjects. It's okay. I'm just not used to talking about sex with giant dragon women I barely know. Giant dragon women, is that how you see me? Danny considered the question. I mean, you're tall, you have scales, you have wings. You kind of look like a dragon from human mythology. So yeah, giant dragon woman seems accurate. I see, and do these dragons from human mythology breathe fire? Some of them do. Vex grinned, showing all her pointed teeth. She took a deep breath, and for a terrifying moment, Danny thought she was about to demonstrate some kind of flame-breathing ability. Instead, she simply exhaled slowly, her breath fogging slightly in the air. Sadly, I cannot breathe fire, but I can produce a mild venom from glands in my mouth. It causes paralysis in most species. That's comforting. I would never use it on you, Danny Cole. You are far too entertaining to paralyze." Danny found himself laughing despite his embarrassment. There was something about Vex that made him feel at ease, even when she was discussing topics that would normally make him want to hide under a rock. "To answer your original question," he said slowly, "I've had a few girlfriends, nothing serious. Life on the outer colonies doesn't leave much time for relationships. But you have experienced physical intimacy." "Yeah, a few times." Vex nodded, as if filing this information away. "Good, experience is valuable, even if limited. It means you understand the basic concepts involved." "Why does that matter?" "It may not, but if the alliance proceeds and humans begin partnering with, there will be questions, concerns. People will want to know that such relationships are possible, that the physical aspects can work. Having someone who can speak honestly about the experience would be valuable." Danny held up his hands. "Hold on, I never said anything about being part of the reproduction program. I agreed to help with diplomacy to talk to the government. That's it. Of course, I am not suggesting you personally participate in anything. I am simply saying that understanding is important." Vex's expression became more serious. "Many humans will be frightened of the idea. They will imagine all sorts of horrors. Having someone who knows us, who has seen that we are not monsters, could help ease those fears." Danny thought about this. "You're right, people are going to be scared. The idea of human men being with alien women having hybrid children. It's going to freak a lot of people out." "And how do you feel about it, honestly?" Danny looked at her, really looked. At her golden eyes and iridescent scales, at the horns and wings and tail, at the sheer inhuman size of her. "Honestly, I think you're beautiful. Different, sure. Scary, definitely, but beautiful. And if some humans can look past the differences and find connection with your people, if they can help save your species while creating something new, I think that's a good thing." Vex was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than Danny had ever heard it. "Thank you, Danny Cole. That means more than you know." The human outpost was called Delta, a mining facility and trading hub on the edge of explored space. As the eternal flame approached, Danny could see the station growing larger in the viewport. It was an ugly, utilitarian structure, all angles and metal and blinking lights. After the organic beauty of Vex's ship, it looked like a child's toy. "They're hailing us," Danny said, reading the communication panel that Vex had taught him to use. "They want to know who we are and what we want." "Tell them the truth. An alien vessel is approaching with a human survivor of a ship accident, seeking to make contact with human authorities." Danny opened the channel and relayed the message. There was a long pause before the response came. "Unknown vessel, this is Delta. Please hold position while we verify your claims. If you are hostile, be advised that we have defensive capabilities." Vex snorted. "Their defensive capabilities consist of 3 outdated plasma cannons that could not scratch my hull, but I appreciate the attempt at intimidation." They waited. After nearly an hour, a new voice came through the communication system. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Lisa Grant of Delta. We've confirmed the emergency beacon from the salvage vessel Starward Drifter and the identity of crew member Daniel Cole. You have permission to dock at Bay 7. Be advised that armed security will be present." "Understood," Danny replied. "We're on our way." The docking process was smooth. Vex's ship connected to the station's airlock with the same organic tube that had first brought Danny aboard. When they stepped through into the station, they were met by a squad of security officers with weapons raised. Commander Grant stepped forward. She was a tall woman with gray hair and hard eyes, clearly someone who had seen her share of trouble. "Technician Cole," she said, "you want to explain what the hell is going on here?" "It's a long story, Commander." "I've got time." Danny explained everything, with Vex occasionally adding details. He told them about the accident on the Starward Drifter, his rescue, the sisterhood, and their desperate situation. By the time he finished, Commander Grant's expression had shifted from suspicious to thoughtful. "So let me get this straight," she said. Your species is dying out because all your males were killed by a plague, and you think human DNA might be able to save you. That is correct, Vex replied. And you're not planning to kidnap our men or force anyone to do anything. We are proposing a voluntary alliance. Nothing would be forced. We would offer our technology and knowledge in exchange for willing partners. Everything would be consensual. Grant looked at the armed security officers, then back at Vex. This is way above my pay grade. I'm going to have to contact Colonial Command. They'll probably send a diplomatic team to talk to you. I expected as much. We are prepared to wait. The commander nodded slowly. All right, we'll set you up with quarters on the station while we wait for instructions. But I'm going to need that ship of yours to stay docked. No flying off in the middle of the night. Agreed. And so the waiting began. The diplomatic team arrived 2 weeks later. They were led by a man named Ambassador White, a slick career diplomat who clearly did not know what to make of Vex and her proposal. The Colonial Council has reviewed your offer, White said during their first formal meeting. Danny was present as a witness and translator, though Vex's grasp of human language was better than his. They have concerns. Of course they do, Vex replied. Please share them. First, there's the question of verification. We only have your word that your species is dying and that humans are compatible for reproduction. We would need independent confirmation. Understandable. I am prepared to share our medical records, genetic data, and historical archives. Your scientists can examine everything. White made a note on his tablet. Second, there are ethical concerns. The idea of reproduction is controversial. Many people find it disturbing or immoral. Morality is subjective. What your people find disturbing, mine find essential. I am not asking humanity to change its views. I am asking for willing volunteers who do not share those concerns. And if there aren't any volunteers? Vex's expression did not change, but Danny saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear, perhaps, or despair. Then we will seek alternatives elsewhere, but we will not give up. The sisterhood has survived for 5 centuries against impossible odds. We will continue to survive one way or another. The negotiations continued for months. Danny stayed involved throughout, serving as a liaison between Vex and the various human officials who came to examine, question, and evaluate. He found himself growing increasingly frustrated with the bureaucratic slowness of it all. They're stalling, he told Vex one evening after a particularly tedious day of meetings. They don't know what to do, so they keep asking for more information, more studies, more time. Patience is necessary in such matters. Change is difficult for any species. But your people are dying. Every day they delay is another day closer to extinction. Vex reached out and placed a clawed hand on Danny's shoulder. The touch was gentle, almost tender. You care more about my people's fate than many of my own sisters do. Why? Danny thought about the question. Because I know you now. You're not just some alien species asking for help. You're Vex. You're my friend. And the idea of you disappearing, of your whole people just fading away into nothing, makes me angry. Angry? Yeah, angry. It's not fair. You didn't ask for this. You didn't do anything wrong. You're just trying to survive, and nobody should have to beg for the right to exist. Vex was quiet for a long moment. You are a good person, Danny Cole. Whatever happens, I want you to know that meeting you has given me hope. Real hope for the first time in centuries. We're going to make this work. I don't care how long it takes. We're going to save your people. The breakthrough came 8 months after Vex's initial arrival at Delta. A team of human geneticists working with DNA samples confirmed that reproduction between the 2 species was theoretically possible. The children would be hybrids, carrying traits from both parents, but they would be viable. They could live full lives, have children of their own. The news spread quickly through human space. Reactions were mixed. Some people were horrified by the idea, calling it unnatural or dangerous. Others were fascinated, seeing it as an opportunity for unprecedented cooperation between species. And some, A small but significant number were genuinely interested in participating. The Colonial Council voted to approve a trial program. Strict protocols would be in place. All participants would be volunteers, extensively screened and informed of the risks. The program would be small at first, limited to a few dozen couples, but it was a start. Danny was present when Vex received the news. He watched her face as Ambassador White delivered the Council's decision, watched the disbelief slowly give way to joy. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you." "Don't thank us yet," White replied. "This is just the beginning. There's a long road ahead." But Danny could see that even the ambassador was moved by Vex's reaction. It was hard not to be. That night, Danny and Vex stood in the observation deck of Delta, looking out at the stars. "I have to return to the sisterhood," Vex said. "To share this news, to begin preparations. It will take time to coordinate everything." "How long?" "Months, perhaps a year at most." Danny nodded, trying to ignore the strange tightness in his chest. "I'll be here when you get back." Vex turned to face him. In the dim light of the observation deck, her scales seemed to glow with an inner fire. "You have done more for my people than you will ever understand, Danny Cole. When I first pulled you from that dying ship, I saw a frightened boy. Now I see a man who has changed the course of history. I didn't do anything special, I just talked to people. You did far more than that. You showed humanity that we are not monsters. You spoke for us when we had no voice. You believed in us when even I was losing faith." She reached out and cupped his face in her large hand, her claws gentle against his skin. "I will come back for you, Danny Cole. Whatever happens, whatever challenges lie ahead, I will come back." Danny reached up and covered her hand with his own. "I'll be waiting." A year passed, then two. The trial program proceeded slowly but successfully. The first human hybrids were born, healthy children who combined the best traits of both species. They had their human father's adaptability and their mother's strength. They were beautiful, each one a living symbol of hope. Danny watched from afar, still serving as a liaison but no longer at the center of events. He had been offered various positions in the growing Alliance infrastructure, but he turned them all down. He was waiting for something, someone. Vex returned on a spring day, her ship appearing without warning in the skies above Earth Colony 7. She had come not to the diplomatic centers or government offices, but to the small mining colony where Danny's family lived. Danny was helping his mother in her garden when the shadow passed overhead. He looked up, saw the familiar serpentine shape of the eternal flame, and felt his heart leap. She landed in the field outside town, and Danny ran to meet her. Vex emerged from her ship looking exactly as he remembered, tall and terrifying and beautiful. But there was something different in her eyes, a softness that had not been there before. "You came to Colony 7, Danny said, slightly out of breath. "You said you would be waiting. This is where your family lives. This is where you would be." "But the diplomatic mission, the Alliance coordination." "Can wait." Vex moved closer, her presence as overwhelming as ever. "I have spent 2 years traveling between stars, meeting with officials and signing agreements. I have done my duty to my people. Now I want to see you." Danny looked up at her, this giant dragon woman who had changed his life in ways he was still understanding. "I missed you," he said simply. "And I missed you, Danny Cole, more than I expected to, more than I knew was possible." She reached out and took his hand, her clawed fingers intertwining with his small human ones. "I have a proposition for you," she said. "Another one. A different kind. The Alliance is proceeding well. There will be more hybrids, more partnerships, a future for both our peoples. But I find myself wanting something more personal." Danny's heart was pounding. "What do you want?" "I want you not as a diplomat or a liaison, not as a symbol of human cooperation. I want you as a partner, a mate if you are willing." Danny stared at her. "You want to be with me, like in a relationship?" "Is that so surprising? We have known each other for more than 2 years. You are kind and brave and good. You make me laugh. You care about my people as if they were your own. Why would I not want to be with you? Because I'm a junior technician from a backwater mining colony. Because I'm tiny compared to you. Because we're different species. Vex smiled, showing her pointed teeth. None of that matters to me. Does it matter to you? Danny thought about all the reasons why this was crazy. The size difference, the cultural differences, the fact that people would stare, would talk, would judge. Then he thought about how he felt when Vex was near. Safe, happy, understood, like he belonged somewhere for the first time in his life. No, he said, it doesn't matter to me. Vex's smile widened. Good, then I believe we have a future to discuss. Danny's mother and sister took the news better than he expected. They had heard about the alliance, of course, everyone had. But meeting Vex in person was something else entirely. She's very tall, his mother said after the initial introductions. I am aware, Vex replied dryly. It is something I am unable to change. I didn't mean it as criticism, it's just an observation. Danny's mother looked at her son, then at the alien woman who had somehow claimed his heart. Do you love him? Vex seemed surprised by the direct question. Among my people, love is expressed differently than among humans. We do not use the word in the same way. But if you are asking whether I value Danny, whether I wish to protect him and build a life with him, then yes. The answer is yes. Danny's mother nodded slowly. Then that's all I need to know. Welcome to the family, Vex. The wedding, if it could be called that, took place 6 months later. It was a small ceremony combining human and traditions, held in the field where the eternal flame had first landed. Danny's family was there, along with a few close friends. Vex had brought several of her sisters from the sisterhood, towering figures who regarded the human attendees with curiosity and something approaching affection. Commander Grant was there, having traveled from Delta for the occasion. Ambassador White sent his regards, but was too busy with alliance negotiations to attend personally. When the ceremony was complete and Danny and Vex had exchanged their vows, the small crowd erupted in cheers. Humans and celebrating together, proof that two very different peoples could find common ground. That night, Danny and Vex stood alone on the observation deck of the Eternal Flame, looking out at the stars. I never imagined my life would turn out like this, Danny said. A year ago, I was counting spare parts on a salvage ship waiting to die. Now I'm married to an alien princess. I am not a princess, Vex corrected. The sisterhood has no royalty. You know what I means. Vex wrapped a wing around him, pulling him close to her warmth. I know, and I too never imagined this. I thought I would spend my remaining centuries watching my people fade into extinction. Instead, I have found hope, and I have found you. What happens now? Now we live. We face whatever challenges come together. We help build a future for humans and alike. Danny smiled, leaning into her embrace. That sounds good to me. And it was good. The years that followed brought challenges, of course. Prejudice and fear did not disappear overnight. There were those who opposed the alliance, who viewed human relationships with suspicion or disgust. There were political complications and cultural misunderstandings. But there was also joy. More hybrids were born, healthy children who combined the best of both species. The alliance grew stronger, leading to technological advances and cultural exchanges that benefited everyone. For the first time in 5 centuries, began to hope that they might actually survive. And Danny and Vex faced it all together. The junior technician from a backwater mining colony and the giant dragon woman who had saved his life. An unlikely pair, perhaps, but somehow, against all odds, they worked. Because in the end, that was the lesson. That differences could be bridges instead of barriers. That hope could survive even the darkest times. That love, real love, could find a way. Danny had been right all those years ago when he first boarded the Eternal Flame. Vex was magnificent. And now she was his.